Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this edition of the CEO Mastermind.ai podcast. Super excited, super jazzed to have a friend and mentor of mine, Marcos Mendoza. We've known each other for decades now, crossed different paths, have many mutual friends. Marco is a gentleman in every sense of the word, and he's an expert in the areas that he plays in. So thank you, Marcos. Appreciate you coming today and spending time with us. And just awesome to have you here. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the concept of offers and how to position things so that, because, when you hear a lot of times when people hear the word, offers, they think it's high ticket or they think it's only consulting. And yes, that's true. But every day we're making offers, we're communicating, we're talking to people. Every day is an opportunity to engage and persuade, and you're trying to create connections. And oftentimes the word, in my experience, the word offers or sales and sleazy tend to be used in the same area. And they're really not, in my opinion, when done right. You led a training in a group that we were in a little while back that I thought was quite riveting in terms of like, how do you create offers that are authentic, that are real? And it offers a really strong framework and even how you communicate to people in terms of ideas. Because sometimes pushing an offer or being used car salesman is not the right thing. And in the world that we live in, a lot of times people celebrate the jamming down the throat, the very wild, aggressive type pitches, act now, and it's very disingenuous, it's unauthentic, it's selfish. One person is trying to get, quote unquote, a sale rather than trying to get alignment. Can you think a little bit about your journey and your experience, that we can kind of get into the offer mechanisms and what you teach and how you teach it?
Yes, such powerful words. Okay, so what's going on, everybody? I hope everybody is healthy, happy, and feeling well as you receive this podcast. Such a pleasure to be here. This topic is a topic that it's taken me years to experience transcendental healing because the generational scarcity from my family bled and seeped into my existence, into my consciousness. And I had to learn how to reprogram, but I had to go through a rebirth when it came to truly understanding the value of money, but more so understanding that the offer mechanism comes from a place of ethics, morals, and values first. It's less about the offer and it's more about the person that's making the offer. Where is the offer coming from? The brand's credibility, the likability of the person, the leadership ability of the person pitching, presenting, promoting, or communicating the offer. This is like where the core of the offer lives. It comes from the brand or the person that's communicating the opportunity for the value to be exchanged, value being, time, energy, money, resources, right? So when we think about offers, whether you're offering an opportunity, to exchange a product or a service, or whether you're offering an opportunity to barter a service, or whether you're offering an opportunity to get a job, like everything is about one thing based off of my research, my study, and my practice. And it is the word congruence. When there is congruence, when my core values align with your core values, then the safety, the responsibility, the rapport, the trust, all these things happen almost instantly and very consciously at a subconscious level. You don't think to yourself, I trust him. You just kind of feel your way through that trust. And that's because congruence has been achieved. And inside congruence being achieved, the conversations becomes an equal conversation of exchange rather than you forcing somebody to understand the value that you're proposing to them, right? You don't have to force anything when you're having an authentic, natural conversation with someone that has already pre-qualified as someone that wants what you have to offer. So if you were to look at the word offer and then use it, change it from the word, I have an offer for you, to I have an offering, it's almost like the offer becomes a little lighter because the offering is something, it seems in the conscious mind of how we interpret communication, some people might perceive an offering as something generous and subtle. But when we perceive it as the word offer, It's almost as if everybody's got an offer. It's like red flags go up, ding, 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 an offer, an
Yeah,
offer, an offer. Everybody's trying to take my money. Everybody's trying to take something away from me. But an offering is like, well, I wonder what that offering is all about, especially if it's indirectly being sold. So when it comes to making offers, like when you learn how to create an offer that aligns your worth with the value that a client sees themselves worthy of receiving in exchange, that's the sweet spot. That's congruence, as I said. A sale is made when congruence is achieved between the two people that are communicating, whether it be communicating on a website, communicating on a sales page, or communicating through dialogue. Congruence is really what's at the
right.
core of what's making that exchange happen.
I think if we dig a little deeper on that for a moment, I think the essence of even myself leading an organization and all this sort of stuff, everyone, oh, let's have a discovery call, let's have an alignment call. And all it is a call to get me to buy, to offer me something by the end, whether we're aligned or not. And I think what's missing in today's common world is that when you use the word offering, it's an important nuance because it's a meeting of two equals to see if there's something to partner with. And does this work for both of us? Where I think a lot of times in the market, a lot of people talk about this concept of an offer, which it seems to be, in my experience, and let me know if you agree with it, is very one-sided. I have an offer and I'm going to guilt you into buying this product or service, or to come to this party, or to do whatever it may be, versus the nuance. Because I think that for the audience, I think it's important, like the words we use and how we deploy them are really critical, right? So I think to your point, we have an offering, it's up for discussion. It's non-confrontational. It comes from a place of goodness. And this is what I'm offering versus, tap, tap, this is my offer. You got to buy it. There's only 5 spots left. Can I take your credit card? It's a very confrontational, very friction heavy experience.
I think that it's weird. Like I get uncomfortable sensations in my body when I hear words like guilt and push and like
Yeah,
I'm so opposite of that. And being a wordsmith, I have no issues being transparent using communication to co-create a place of harmony for the discussion. So
yeah,
I don't think a discovery call or an alignment call is ever supposed to be taken unless the person you're speaking with has already been pre-qualified by understanding the essence of the offer and the price and the primary fundamentals and mechanics of it. If they don't already know that information, then the call becomes a showdown, which is let me demonstrate my value to you with the hope that by the end of this conversation or by the middle of the conversation, you're going to purchase this. That's how it's traditionally done. Whereas I don't teach it like that. I teach it as in the rapport building conversation is where you pre-qualify and gather all the data so that if you do get in a conversation, it's an enrollment conversation, not a discovery call. So
yeah,
I believe that your priority is to understand what a client wants with absolute clarity so that you can design your offer to match that want and then communicate how well you understand that so that when you do communicate how well you understand the client by building the rapport and then creating an offer for them or realizing that your offer that's already been created matches what you're learning in the rapport building process, when that happens, a client doesn't put price over value. Instead, they prioritize the having and receiving of the value over the price because they realize that the value of the offer aligns with their core needs, wants, and desires.
yeah. It solves the thing they're looking to solve, right? Ultimately. Can you talk a little bit about I'm a geek, I like methods and models, and being Fortune 500 trained, I always, I don't want to say the word template, but there's general structure to follow these things, both from an NLP communication standpoint and also just how we process information. Do you have, or can you walk us through, what does a good structure look like in terms of like making your offering?
So it's broken down into like 7 primary principles, and these principles have actually been made very public these days, especially the industry that I work in, which is a coaching consulting space. These 7 elements, like if you can nail these 7 elements, and I'll guide you through them, you'll have a remarkable, what I call a remarkable offer. So the first thing is, what does the offer provide as value that nobody else in the niche that you serve can say that they provide as value? Right? So what is the unmatched value that the offer provides? That's the first thing.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to take that a little bit deeper, then explore the niche. right? Which is if I say I help coaches, okay, great. I help spiritual coaches. Okay, we're taking it down. I help spiritual coaches that make less than $150,000 net profit a year. We're narrowing it down. I help spiritual coaches that make less than $150,000 net profit a year that have struggle believing that they are worthy of a six-figure salary. It's like the more I niche it down, the more I can discover the type of value that can be developed and considered to be unmatched, right? So you create unmatched value by going
Yeah.
deeper into the understanding of the client's needs, wants, or desires.
I think I'll speak for myself, many other business owners and leaders I've come across with. I think you hit on something I believe that's really important. One is the value and importance of niching or niching down, depending on what part of North America you come from, in terms of like being specific on who you help and how you help. Because oftentimes, well, I can help everybody, right? Like you want to be so broad. Oftentimes, I find other businesses and load, especially myself, Fortune 500 trained. Most the front half of my career has been in the large mass market, where you niche to a certain degree, but then you kind of stop because the product you serve is a consumable by a massive part of the population. Versus when you go into small medium businesses, also known as quote unquote Main Street versus Wall Street, the more specific you can get on that, not only the more that you can charge, but the more relevancy, and to your keyword that you used earlier, the more recognition of what that value is, because there's congruence, because you're serving someone like me and you understand quote unquote me. So I think that's something I love that you said that, because I think that my experience has been, I don't know if you see, but that's probably one of the most common mistakes is I just help, consultant. Well, it's like saying I help lawyers. Well, what kind of lawyers? There's all kinds of lawyers, right? There's like criminal, there's legal, there's all kinds of dentists, there's orthodontists, periodontists, like each industry has multiple subsegments and it's big enough for everyone to play. And it's just figuring out who do you help serve the best and making sure that offering aligns with who you can help the most and
The
who you
niches
want
are
to help the most, right?
the niches are important, but it's not a cardinal rule. And you can talk to so many different people about this, and people will have different opinions, but
Sure.
you can also market generally and then have a system to pre-qualify based off of the general, like lawyers. Okay, great. I got the attention of lawyers, and then I guide them through a specific process to help them identify where they fit along my product suite, right? So there's also
Mhm.
that opportunity as well. There's so many coaches, and I speak from coaches because I'm in the coaching industry. They have a very difficult time niching down because they believe that they can help in so many different areas.
Sure.
And,
Yeah.
and I think that one of the things I don't think I guide my clients to assess which parts of all those areas that you want to help people in are you just giving advice because you have life experience or insight, and which part is where you are actually a specialist, right?
Yeah.
So when you niche down, you're niching down because you relate as a specialist, right? As a
Right.
specialist, you charge more, take less time to deliver, and get referred more often. So there's I don't want to just say one or two. There's various paths that you can take when creating an offer, a remarkable offer. You don't have to niche down to find the riches. You can find the riches in the volume. You run ads and attract lawyers to buy this kit that helps you start in your first year of being a lawyer, and you make money in volume because you generally ran that ad. You can do that as well. So it just really depends on the industry you're in and
Yeah.
the value of your offer. So that's the first thing, is just make sure that the value that you're creating, you specialize on what the unmatched value of that offer is, whether in the niche or whether in the general spectrum. The second thing would be to position the offer as what I call a unicorn offer, which a unicorn offer is where it's
Yeah.
almost as if it's too good to be true. So how can you push the boundaries of what you can provide by developing that unmatched value and then sampling that so that before people buy it, people get an experience of unmatched value through this unicorn offer, which is like, I just tried out what makes this offer special and I didn't have to pay anything for it. And that taste test or sample gave me enough insight into A, trusting where this came from, B, seeing myself follow through with it, and C, realizing that this is something I deserve or something that I want. So
Yeah.
that positioning the actual value in the market and then letting people demo it is an extraordinary experience. For example, try Chat GPT and then you experience how unicorn it is. It's like, whoa, I've never tried this before. This is one of a kind. And you buy their subscription.
Yeah. Good example on that part, because it's everyone has something that unique or some experience or some ability to deliver value that I think it's just about crafting and positioning it, like you said.
Yeah. The third thing would be all the reasons why they can feel safe to buy. Right? So there's
Right.
benefits and outcomes, right? So what are the benefits and the outcomes of the offer? Now, when you think about benefits and outcomes, you can elaborate on that because the benefits and outcomes are very much related to, it's all tied to, for example, the guarantee. So if the guarantee removes all the risk from purchasing, then the benefits and outcomes are what make sure that the guarantee has integrity.
As teeth. Yeah.
Has teeth, exactly. Right. So that's how you want to look at it. It's like, okay, what are all the reasons for you to buy this? Or what are all the reasons for you to feel safe to buy this? Right. Safety is related to trust. Trust is related to not feeling any risk or any harm, or you know what I mean? Like those things are all important. So that's the third thing that's the third mechanics, or the third piece to the mechanics of an offer.
I think it would be there's something to be said about the word safety. I think there's an interesting nuance in there because oftentimes a lot of communication, they don't necessarily feel safe, right? So when you're demonstrating your benefits and your outcome, there's a sense of safety because, like you said at the beginning, there's this congruence and there's this alignment that there's safety leads to believability. Like, oh, okay, I see this. This is fine. This is safe. This is someone not trying to force something on you. So like for me, the word safety resonates really strongly. And I think for most sort of ethically driven folks, it should. And I think that's the best place to from which you can make your offer, right? It's from a place of safety.
Sometimes depending on who you're selling, if you're in a corporate environment where people aren't used to spirituality infused, ethic based offers being pitched or promoted or communicated, you would have to find a different word for safety. So, for example, if it's packed for reasons for potential clients to feel safe to purchase, then depending on your audience, if you're speaking to like corporate execs, you wouldn't say for clients to feel safe. You would say for clients to feel assured that their purchase
Yeah.
is going to deliver on the value that they anticipate to receive, right? So safety is synonymous to assurances. So they're probably thinking to
Yeah.
myself, okay, I'll give you the $500 million, but what are my assurances?
Right.
So you as the person that's using these mechanics to build the offer, your job is to extract value from your product or service so that those assurances can be supported by the integrity of how you deliver the product or the service.
Yeah. 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 Actually, the little nuance there, because you're right, different audience. At the end of the day, from a psychological, humanistic perspective, they're really looking for safety and comfort. To your point, that's the place that you started. But based on the industry, you do hit a nuance because if it is a more corporate, 9-figure, 10-figure type, you know, world that you're pitching to or selling your consulting services to, they want more assurances and those types of words. So thank you for pointing that out because that is true. Although from a basic, I think human level, Jeremy Miner talks a lot about this around how to like talk to people at a level that they understand, but it really comes down to what's the language that they know and are trained on to get the response and alignment that you need so that it's based on integrity, like it's true. You're not giving someone something on a false hope or a false promise. It's very clear what those assurances are, what those outcomes are. You can feel safe about achieving those outcomes.
And you can support the way you deliver on those assurances and safety. If you want to go deeper into making sure that your assurances are just like bulletproof, for lack of a better term, do your research on the client so that you can leverage the insight that you learn into their struggles or where they've been burned in the past. Like if you can identify where they have lived in regret or denial or doubt or pain or disappointment from past purchases in a similar niche, and you can flip that using assurances that are research supported, and you can communicate that, the person sitting in the chair is going to receive that information and be like, it's like you know me. It's like you've read my bio. It's like you've
Yeah.
read up on my story. How did you know that that is what? It's like, well, we did our research to ensure that we catered this offer or this offering specifically to ensure that you felt empowered and informed in your decision to choose us as the company that can get you where you've asked to go.
Yeah, really good. That's awesome. What's number 4?
So number 4 is the price. So the price, now again, this depends on who I'm speaking to. So let's say we're using a coach as an example. Let's just say a self-employed person. So are you going to commoditize your offer and price it in a way that communicates that it's cheap? Or are you going to specialize in what it is that you offer as value and price it in a way that is beyond what's typically accessible to the common person, but reachable in the sense that it's a little scary to make the investment, but when you pay attention, and they know that. So they're realizing, I'm going to stretch myself to make this grand investment, knowing that because I have to pay attention now. So it's usually priced higher than the average offer in your niche and low enough to be made available through payment plans if need be, right? So the way you price it communicates the value. And I've gone through this so many times because going back to like the niches, like I love helping spiritual entrepreneurs that have self-worth issues because they feel that their spirituality clouds their abundant, prosperous mindset and they have all these blind spots. So I love to be that person for them that helps them remove that blind spot and have a look at all the prosperity available for them. I
Yeah.
like to be that. But then I like to work with all the Davides of the world as well. People that gladly invest $25,000 and up because they're like, 25K? Of course. I pay. When I pay attention. And what it's taken me to get to a place where I can make these investments, what that's taken me is something that I'm proud to invest. I look at it as I deserve to invest. And 25K, there's coaches out there that are charging 500K for, a year, a million for a year.
Yeah.
There's no set price. It's really, the price is really dependent on two things. Is the opinion that you have of yourself on how you can deliver on the value and the qualifications of the client and how they align with the value that you've communicated. So like it's really just two things. So when we talk about the price, I don't care if it's $1 or if it's a million, the value, if the value is there, your job as someone that is marketing this offer, your job is to ensure that the offer is communicating to the person that is ready to receive the value of that offer. And when they look
Yeah.
at the price, if these mechanics that I'm teaching you guys are all in place, they don't really quote unquote care about the price. They care about having access to the value. So they look beyond the price and they just think, well, the value speaks for itself. So when someone says, like this is really expensive, be like, some people would say it's expensive who don't understand the value. You can then say, maybe I haven't done a good enough job at explaining the value,
Yeah.
right? Or you could also say some people think it's expensive while other people might think that it's valuable. I've come to
Bargain.
understand that it's valuable, right? So
Yeah.
I think that you can also see, here's another, I'm hitting you with all my all my tools,
Yeah.
all my insight, but you could also say, like I don't want to go too crazy with the teaching, but like you could also say
Yeah.
something
Go.
like, look, like if this is expensive to you, right? Like, anyways, I don't want to go too crazy, but I gave you two really good examples, right? So
Yeah.
there's the rebuttals, to like, hey, I don't think this is expensive. I think that okay, I'll give you the what do they call the T, the offer. This is a really powerful rebuttal for an objection. So when somebody says that it's expensive, if you believe in the value of your offer and you relate expensive to the word expenses, and expenses is something that is taking away from your consistent prosperity, then you communicate to them like, are you saying to me that you think you're going to be expensing this investment? Because there's an oxymoron there. There's a sense of hypocrisy in that, because
Sure.
if you're looking at this investment as something that's adding value, but you're also looking at it as something that's expensive because you're putting it into the category of your expenses, which is related to any scarcity that you may have in your space, then are you communicating to me that you're looking at this as expensive because it's taking value away from something that you already cherish and value so much, which is your financial integrity? Like, these types of conversations need to be had either in the pre-qualification experience, in the onboarding, or the enrollment conversation. These
Right.
conversations are transparent conversations about truly understanding the person that you're serving. So if your offer is priced higher than the average in your niche, then you're going to be speaking to people who enjoy paying because they pay to play. When you pay
Yeah.
attention. They know that, right? And if
Right.
it's low enough to be made available through payment plans, well, if it's a $25,000 offer and you've made it available to be invested into 12 months, let's say, just make sure that the value of your offer in payment plans is not the same as how much you would get paid in
Paid in
full,
full.
right? Like, make
Yeah.
sure that you are in integrity to the next client that's going to show up and say, hey, I can pay you in full, because your time, your energy, your resources, and the way that the way that the offer is packaged is going to then help you decide, hey, where am I going to distribute all my time, energy, and resources here?
Yeah.
So the number four is a powerful, let's call it lever to this offer mechanism, because the way you price it determines your opinion of yourself and how well you can stand for that price. You should never have to defend the price of your offer. If you're defending it because somebody is trying to lowball you, usually it's because they're projecting their own insecurity on you. They're projecting
Yeah.
their own financial scarcity on you, and they're trying to lowball you or trying to get you to drop the price. And you can say to them, here's another one. It's like, Mike, I won't drop the price because that would be a demonstration that I don't value myself or the value of my product. I won't drop the price, but what I can do is give you some better assurances, right? Or I
Yeah.
won't drop the price, but what I can do is add some bonuses to celebrate you as a reward for paying in full. Or what I won't do, I won't drop the price because that would be me literally communicating to you that I can drop the value of my worth to try to meet you at the price that works best for you, when in reality, me taking a stand for my worth is the reason why I'm communicating that I'm the best fit for this
For you.
opportunity, right?
Yeah.
So I'll
Yeah.
add some guarantees, right? So it's like, and if even
Yeah.
after all that, I know I'm hitting you with a lot, but even if after
Perfect.
all that, the person is like, yeah, no, it's not for me. Thank you. Good, because
Yeah.
if the person is giving you that much of a hard time in the conversation where you have to defend your worth, then imagine the type of person they're going to be when you're in a container with them for three
Yeah.
months, 6 months, or a year, right? So
Yeah.
I can leave now.
Yeah, no, I think what's interesting, because like, even, they call the 4 Ps of marketing, like the time spent on price is critical, because one of the most absolute powerful tools of value, of worth, integrity is price. And oftentimes in the business world, it is the thing that is most abused, right? Instead of you get into a share fight, instead of like holding your ground on your price and delivering more value in other ways, what do most companies do? They cut their prices. It's a race to the bottom. It is a short-term tactic that ultimately harms you long-term. I can't tell you how many times I've seen that in all the industries I participated. So I think, like, we can spend an entire podcast talking about price and the psychology. Like, do you go, when was the last time you seen diesel jeans on sale? When was the last time you seen Rolex on sale? When was the last time you seen a commercial on Lamborghini or Ferrari? You haggle with the price. Like, they know what they stand for, and there's a certain level of aspiration, and there's a certain level of excellence. And I think that's what your price is, right? So to your point, there's always ways to play. There's ways to play on price, So if you look at AG athletes, and again, I'm going to go too detailed too, so we'll stop there too far. But if you look at the way P&G, there's two ways to play. You play on scale, which is on price, or you play on differentiation. And unless you're Walmart or Amazon, do not play on price. You play on differentiation, experience. You use the word unicorn. And I think that's where the uniqueness, and that's where you can get alignment. Like we can spend, there are entire MBA courses dedicated to the psychology of pricing. So the time we spent here is just the tip of 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 the iceberg. But you hit a lot of important things around nuances and how to deal with those objections, because at the end of the day, there's a buyer for everything, right? And it's about being in a container that's safe for everybody, where you're delivering and you feel valued. No one wants to be in something where they're not feeling valued or they didn't get their value, right? Like that is the place of friction and tension. Last I checked, we're not getting out of this thing alive. And life is short, but yet beautiful. And so you want to spend your time in those moments where there is that congruence and that alignment, and there's that, mutual exchange that you talked about. Because to your point, they're coming into a container, they're coming into a space in an environment that's really critical to protect for both people. And I think it's something that's too often ignored, where the pricing does become an option. You just race to the bottom. The way to get it is like, I love how you said it. Hey, the price is X, it's 10 grand. Pay a full 10 grand. You could pay a grand a month, but it's 12 grand. There's a payment, there's a process, there's a way to make it more digestible. But at the end of the day, the delivery or the outcome doesn't change, right? Like that doesn't change. What we do best is what we deliver, and the value of that is, and it's not profiteering, because sometimes people say, oh, it's just profiteering, you're gouging. Well, if you're gouging, you try to go around and try to get one person to pay you 500 grand a year to do the one thing that you do. You could probably do it and spend all year to find that one person. But most people don't go ahead and do that, right? So you try to serve and help as many people as possible.
Profiteering is if I didn't exchange sincere, genuine, and authentic value, then I'm profiteering.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
So for people that have all these stories, so on a personal note, for whoever's listening to this, so I have a personalized mission. I don't want to say it's a vendetta, but it does kind of have an energy of a vendetta, where I'm like, I will die on the hill to defend this industry. And I see the coaching industry or the coaching profession get scrutinized and ripped apart because the coaching industry has been, let's call it, poisoned by the bro marketers of the world. Something so beautiful and pure as a coaching container, which is a very beautiful place and space, has been poisoned by the marketers that have taken advantage of people's lack and have used scarcity and urgency and cheap products and empty promises to manipulate people into purchasing, while they profiteer and provide very little quality assurance, while the rest of the coaches that are certified coaches or that are adamant about building ethical coaching practices, they get left with the bad reputation because of how people have literally poisoned this space. Do I believe that coaches deserve to charge high ticket? For the amount of time, energy, life experience, trauma, resolve of that trauma, dedication, devotion, selflessness, integrity, creativity, innovation, personal investments that coaches make into themselves to be able to take a stand as a quote unquote coach. Do I believe that coaches deserve to be well compensated for all of that value that they've accumulated on their personal journey to publicly say, I can coach you? 100%. If you look at any coach in the NBA or NFL, like, coaches make good money. Why do coaches get good money? Because they take on a lot of the responsibility, they take on the strategy, they take on the teamwork, they take on the vision, they take on the expectations of management. Like, same thing goes for coaches in any industry, right? Like, we take on the responsibility that comes with having to deal with people. People are complicated beings. So we have to navigate through suggestion and permission and questions and insights and space holding and compassion and empathy, and power to communicate with the complexities of the human condition.
Yeah.
What most people, that's why I'll always say, like, please stop charging by the hour. The transformation doesn't happen in an hour. The transformation can, if you're charging $4,300 an hour, yeah, okay, great. Get compensated for that hour because there's so much volume. You're so busy that you have to charge. Maybe you were charging 1,500 an hour and it was worth it as a strategic consultant or coach. But because you're booked up solid, it's like, well, if you do want access to my time, I'm going to have to raise the rate. I deserve that. I'm in demand,
Yeah,
right? So there's a lot of things that I can say about the coaching industry in that regard. Like I will die on the hill defending this industry. And that's why Coachable was built initially, my company. It was built world-class coaches. This is where world-class coaches come to build world-class coaching businesses, right? Like that's
right,
my goal. And now that we have the membership coming out, we can help a lot of the coaches that don't have the high ticket investment rates, but still want access to the high ticket value, right? But for the
right,
coaches that are doing extraordinary work, have already broken through their worth and have elevated their communication skills to the point where they have clear copy, clear messaging, clear offers, clear, processes and are on the journey to scalable, then our high ticket services serve them well too. But
yeah,
let's just be realistic here. Like any offer that you put together, if you're pricing it from scarcity, then there's something inauthentic about that
so,
has to be addressed, which is why sales is so spiritual. Because if you look at what I just said, like, hey, I had to break the generational curse related to the wealth dynamics that my family raised in that. Money's hard to make, hard labor, construction, this, that, break your back,
true,
no pension, right? Like there's spirituality to selling. And it takes tremendous introspection for a person to be able to communicate their raw, authentic truth in relation to why they deserve to charge what they say that they want to charge. And on top of that, deserve to receive what they deserve to receive. That's why we
yeah,
exist as coaches. Who's going to ask you these difficult questions? Who's going to
true,
hold the space for your breakdown when the truth comes to the surface? Who's going to give you a strategic plan of action to move forward when you realize that you're done with this narrative?
yeah,
Come on, guys. This is real work, real work. On top of the fact that after the hour passes, what, you think we just turn off and now we don't think about you anymore as the client? Of course we think about you.
of course,
We love you. We care about we care about you. We have a moral responsibility and then we have an ethical business responsibility to serve you. So
like,
this industry,
yeah,
when it comes to the offer mechanics, this is all the stuff that goes into the development of the offer.
yeah. I think you something important because you're right. As coach, people as coaches or consultants or whatever, when we step back and look at all aspects of society in terms of high performance, athletes, the highest performing CEOs, they all have somebody in their corner. Oprah had somebody in her corner. So I think to your point, that the work is real, the work is difficult. You need someone on the outside to help guide you and creating an offering where you can get that alignment where who can I help at the highest capacity achieve their goals and dreams. It's almost priceless, right? Think about a fitness trainer, right? Some people say, well, they're not a coach. Well, they wouldn't see themselves as a coach, but they actually act like what is a coach, right? So if you break down the word of a coach or consultant, it's it comes in many forms and many names. But if you had someone that could be your fitness coach or a fitness trainer, and they can put you in a shape to help you live 10 years longer, what's that worth?
It's priceless.
It's priceless. Like you get to see your grandkids. You get to like, so again, there is an infinite value. There's an economic aspect to it, but at the end of the day, it's not zero. And the price ceiling is infinite and it's charging for the appropriate what the person wants. And we'll use, to your point, the broad lingo of coach but it really covers what does a coach do? And they come in many names and titles. Think about an accountant. An accountant is your coach as it relates to your finances. But people don't think of an accountant as a coach, right? Most people, I believe, think of a coach as like a life coach or a spiritual coach, but coaches or the act of coaching or consulting comes in many different forms, in many different areas of expertise. So most people don't even know that they employ coaches in all aspects of their life. I have an accountant, I have a lawyer, I have fitness people, I have business coaches, I have friends. Like, if you think about the act of even being a friend is like being a coach, because to your point, who's going to ask tough questions? Who's going to hold you to that standard that you seek to attain? Who's going to pull you up when you're down in whatever aspect of life? And so I think part of this offer in terms of remarkable coaches, it doesn't just need to be in the traditional sense of what we think. Coaches, if you will, come in all forms of every industry is basically a coach, because they're helping somebody do something with that thing to perform at a higher level. And I
Yeah.
think the way you can construct your offering, to your point, because it's not just one coach, right? We all have many, right? Like,
Mhm.
I no longer do my taxes, therefore I have a tax coach. Well, we call him an accountant, or him or her, an accountant, depending on
Yeah.
what it is. So I think it's really interesting that you say that, because it is about what's the worth, what's the value. There's a moral obligation, there's an ethical obligation. Had a conversation with someone around tax structures, and they messaged later, they gave me some chat for 45 minutes, but then after I got a thing. To your point, it did not shut down after that
Mhm.
30-minute conversation. It went on, right, to be part of a long-term potential relationship. So um, so we've got value and unmatched value, number one. Number two, we've got position as a unicorn. Number three, we have reasons for safety, assurances, sort of benefits and outcomes. Number four, we have price. We can spend an entire podcast on price alone. That would be really easy to do, and all the psychology behind it. And now that I think about it, I probably will do one around that. We've got three more sections to go. Can you talk about number
I'll
five?
I'll do it really quickly so we can wrap. So the next one is the guarantee and the bonus. So like I said earlier, the guarantee removes all the risk. So buy now, and if you don't like it, you can get your money back. It's like, oh, I have nothing to lose, right?
Yeah,
That's basic traditional guarantee model. I think that for service providers, offering money back guarantees is unfair, especially if we have to use our time, energy, and resources to deliver on the actual to provide on that guarantee.
yeah,
So I think a service-based guarantee is very important. There's many types of guarantees, but for service providers, I wouldn't do money back guarantee. I wouldn't suggest that you work your ass off and then you have to give somebody money back because they just want their money back because of whatever reasons. I think that for service providers, you can get your money back. There's just a lot of different stipulations around it, but think about it this way. I won't give you the guarantee that you'll get your money back, but I will give you the guarantee that the service will be provided at 100% level of extraordinary excellence, right? Like I guarantee that the service that I have committed to providing you with will be delivered at 100% excellence. And this is how I can guarantee that. Track your progress, measurements, value, lifetime value, access to products, access to resources, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right. So I think money back guarantees are unfair for people in the coaching space, especially if you have to work, quote unquote, for free, like work, and then somebody just tries to gauge you for their money back. Like it's just unfair. You can do money back guarantees if you have a money float. If you have enough money to float where you could risk it, you're so proud of your
yeah.
product and you're like, well, I got enough money and to float just in case people do want refunds. Like this is where it comes from, and I'm willing to risk that because I have financial integrity and I'm willing to pay to play in my own business. Like you can do that too if you want, right? So
Yeah.
guarantees are ultimately you communicating how you intend to remove the risk from their purchasing process. Bonuses are essentially the incentives that inspire someone to pay in full. So when you add a bonus, don't throw in cheap pieces of value to try to stack on value. When you add a bonus, give them some form of extraordinary value that has them say, how can I not pay in full when that is what I get as a reward for me playing full out? That is the guarantee, and the bonus is the sweetness of the offer, because when they're making decisions to purchase, they're in their scarcity. They're either in their dream, desire, and emotional state where they're like, I don't care what it costs, I deserve this, and they'll make a purchase, or they're in their scarcity and logic and scarcity, logical intelligence. And they're like, huh, does this make any sense? Well, the bonus makes it make perfect sense. The guarantee makes it make perfect sense.
Perfect. Just before I move on to the next one, I think you're right. A lot of times people put in these money back guarantees, but it comes from a disingenuous place, right? Because they'll put all these requirements that are near impossible to show up. And like it's just a very, I don't know, a very artificial approach. Like I have personally been burned by one. we guarantee your money back or this, but then you had to do like this, it didn't align with what the offer was about, right? Like I said, we're gonna get you to this, but do this, but by the way, to get guaranteed, you need to do 5 times more than what we promised we'll do with the offer. And it's like, hold on a second, there's something out of whack. If you're just doing it because they heard it on some podcast or YouTube, I need a guarantee. They don't want to do it because they don't have the transformation or the confidence behind it. And it's just more of this, well, I got to have a guarantee. So let me put something that's basically impossible. Someone reads the word guarantee and they try to, pull the wool over your eyes. Like I've seen that a lot of times. And it just gets me upset because, I was looking at a vehicle in the US and importing it. And they're like, no questions asked. You don't like it? Something's wrong, 250 miles? Good. Okay, cool. Like if something's funky, or I get it at, like I've got a window and it wasn't an unreasonable window. I'm like, that reverses the risk of doing something. Now, I
Mhm.
didn't do it because I got to get across the border. So it's a lot more than 250 miles. But the moral of the story being, if you were there, I'm like, cool, that was a guarantee. But what a lot of companies do is that we'll promise to give you the money back, but we'll give you 1 mile to drive the car. And I'm like, wow, that's not even a half tank. Like that's nothing. At least 250 miles is like a half tank of gas for most cars. You can get a feel for it. Did you make a mistake? Did you get a lemon? Can you take it to your mechanic? And a lot of people, to put the parallel, is a lot of people put guarantees reversal and say, well, we'll do it, but you can only go for a mile. It's like you can't tell anything within a mile or a kilometer. Like it's just not possible. So I think I like how you said that. It just makes it that much more sweet in alignment, and the bonuses are really incentives to pay in full, and they're just added incentive just to get you over that line. So important nuance. I like that.
The next part is the service agreement. So your offer is supported by the ethics, integrity, and clearly communicated service agreement. So if your offer is as remarkable as you're saying it is, then you have to be very intentional about ensuring that the responsibility that comes with providing this much value is protected,
Yeah,
because depending on the industry, there's service agreements that can go up to 50 pages. Like depending on the industry, all the clauses that are available, that are hidden, like you got to make sure that there is ethics and integrity and morals and clear
yeah,
communication in your service agreement. So that's just a non-negotiable. And it's sad these days in the coaching industry where service agreements can mean nothing. It's like, oh, there's no refunds. And then somebody wants a refund, and what do? They just blast you on social media and they ruin your reputation because of however the relationship got stained or didn't work out, right?
yeah.
So service agreements need to be put in place. It's an absolute non-negotiable. Even though there's people that'll just completely disregard that they've signed on the dotted line, it's a non-negotiable to have it before you start a working relationship to support the integrity of your word.
Yeah, I think that you touched on an important part there too. Like this, at the end of the day, all we have is our brand, our integrity, our reputation, right? So people can take anything away from you, but what they can't take is your reputation or your integrity. And I think that protects it, right? Because that is really the most important thing, is to say, here's my offering, here are the mechanics, here's how we engage, and here's my commitment to you, that I'm going to do what I said I was going to do, both in heart and on paper. And that goes down to the essence of the spirit of the law and the letter of the law. The offering, the remarkable offer, the spirit of the law. The service agreement is the letter of the law.
Mhm.
And both of those have to match, because if they don't match and they fall out of sync, that's when you have, the blasting on social media, which does happen, and people get blacklisted, they get bad reputation, those sorts of things. It's real. It happens, and there's too many inexperienced people trying to make a quick buck and not an honest impact. That I believe that's where they fail. They'll copy an offer to get the sale, that they can't deliver the impact that they promised. And they put together something fake on the bonuses and the scarcities and all that sort of stuff. And they're just looking to make a quick buck. There's a couple people that if I said their names, you would probably recognize them. We won't disparage them here. That's not the role of this podcast and YouTube channel. But ultimately, that's what holds us all accountable. So it is really, I agree with you. It is critically important, often overlooked, often ignored.
The last element is it has the personality of the brand ingrained into the copy, the onboarding, and the delivery of the product or service.
Yeah.
So essentially, how you package the offer, does it align with the core values of your brand or your company's mission? So what I said at the very beginning, how a sale happens is like, well, your core values align with my core values, and now I feel safe to purchase or I feel safe to inquire. So that congruency is usually communicated through the visual or the experience, ultimately through the packaging. So the way that the offer is packaged is what will help somebody discover whether or not there is congruency or not. If it's not well packaged, then, and well is can be determined in so many ways, but if it's not packaged in a way that aligns or is magnetic or attractive to the ideal client, then
Yeah.
there's an opportunity for that desired congruency to be missed. So you want to make sure that everything that you've communicated in your offer is well packaged so that when it's presented, it's something that elicits the type of trust or impression that will help your offer get noticed through its positioning power.
Yeah, and that's a great way to end because I always have a saying, and I tell my girls, it's a terrible expression, but it's kind of true in the sense of if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, probably a duck. So if you're claiming to be a professional and you look like a professional and you package like a professional, that's great. If you look like a professional, you're claiming to be a professional, but you're doing an offer. And this doesn't mean beautiful graphics on a $50,000 website. It just means even a Google Word document that just got headlines, properly edited, no silly spelling mistakes. Like it's really come down to the simple things. If you're saying you're a professional in fitness, but then it doesn't look like you're a professional in fitness or whatever, both in how you appear as a brand, then if you're saying you're a grammar coach and there's all sorts of grammar mistakes in your offering document on a Google Sheets, again, it doesn't need to be a $10,000, $20,000 website, but that you're right, that is the final straw by which a decision is made to say, does this look, and you use the word congruent, is this congruent? Does the appearance and the feel and the engagement feel in alignment with what you're saying, right? So awesome. That's really good. Any final words for the audience here for you to think about?
I feel like I gave you guys absolute like bombs,
Absolutely.
bombs. Like I feel super aligned with, I'm kind of triggered right now by the word professional, because for me, I've elicited professionalism through reputation and delivery of value, but I've always kind of resisted against having to look the quote unquote part. So I don't wear the suit, I don't wear the tie, but growing up, the stigma was I have to dress a certain way to be perceived to be professional, unless someone lets me into the world and then I can demonstrate it. So I've
Yeah,
succeeded with 10 years of having this company. I've already proven that I'm a professional and I don't have to wear a suit and tie to whatever. But
perfect.
there's
Yeah,
something in my space about that, which is just how, like, let's just call it the attributes of professionalism. I feel like I have to journal on and revisit the attributes of professionalism based off of how I see it and then decide because I'm an artist first. So to have this
yeah,
brain, to have this intellect, this intelligence, intuition, this logic, these ethics, but also to be artistic, there's a desire in me to just allow myself to be fully authentically expressed. And that might be turning people away from me because it seems too casual versus professional. So there's something really
yeah,
interesting. Here I am, is like, what are my takeaways? Well, my takeaways are that I probably gave one of the most remarkable conversations and insights on offer development to ever exist, but yet there's a little bit of like, but does the way I look, does my beard make me unprofessional? Does my sweater
yeah,
make me unprofessional? Right? Like those little things, I don't want to call them insecurities, but I am in a phase where because my new website's coming out and because I have this new membership coming out and because I have all these new experiences, I'm now witnessing myself in how I've packaged my own offer and questioning, is it professional enough in its impression? Because I've built my business without a website, without funnels, without advertising,
yeah,
without SEO, without ads. The only thing I've ever had is a kick-ass, kick-back referral model where I
yeah.
generously pay my clients for sending people my way to the point where they're sending me in droves because my
Truth.
kickbacks are so
Yeah.
healthy.
I would say I judge personally. It's not always about looks. So let's look at one of the most successful entrepreneurs in the last couple of years, Alex Hormozy. Big bulk, beard, wears a freaking nose strip and a wife beater, as they call it. Horrible name, but he wears that white tank top. And someone could say, that guy's not on his way to be a billionaire. But when you listen to him, for example, and when people listen to you, it's not, it's you've been absolute most professional. And I think that's the problem where people put the label. It's like if someone looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's like, yeah, that's a cool person. They said cool thing, they deliver, you're congruent. And I think you are totally inconsistent with your brand. Because I think it's not always about suits and stuff. Like we are people and we're people trying to do good work. And I think it's a really important, and that's where the brand DNA comes from, because it's establishing what is my brand, right? Because you can have brands that are stiff and cold. You can have brands that are totally professional and pristine and will never do anything without a perfect landing page. Okay, that's your brand. Like that's the way you roll. But there's something for everybody. But the offer and the psychology aspect you dropped in here, like it doesn't really get better than this. To be honest with you, like I dare challenge anyone in the audience to come on here, give us a deconstruction on how to create an offer mechanism based on truth, based on human psychology, based on things that work. This is an amazing podcast, amazing conversation. You've over delivered. I think we've gone over the targeted time of like, I've always had this concept of a masterclass of like 30, 40 minutes. And we always go by it with a lot of guests because it's just truth bomb after truth bomb. And just, so thank you. The most, we may not have Elon Musk or Warren Buffett money, not that we're going after, but we all have the same amount of time. And so at the end of the day, time is our most precious resources. Who we spend it with and how we deliver it is really precious. So I thank you for spending so much time with us. For giving everyone the audience, the thousands and thousands of listeners that will receive this. And proud to call you friend and brother. And looking forward to this journey of life with you, and thank you for taking your time with us today. It's
You're welcome. You're welcome. This was so much fun. I can't wait to watch it back. I'm gonna have to transcribe it because I was I'll be honest, I was inspired by this lesson, by this masterclass. I was like, I need to get this message out to way more people. You
yeah,
know, I was inspired. I was like, this is what's coming out of my brain. Like, this is how I think, this is how I work. I was like, I'm inspired. I want to have this conversation over and over and over again. So I can't wait to get access to this recording so that I
yeah,
can use it to continue to market what Coachable is all about. World-class coaching, for world-class coaching businesses. And I'll say one more thing before I wrap up because I do have to go, but this important for, and I'm going to say for the coaches because that's my jam is if you want to build a world-class coaching business, start with providing a world-class coaching service. Build the practice.
yeah,
Once you have a framework, and even if you're just starting out, if you could have a framework of how your world-class service model operates, then the world-class business will happen naturally. Every
yeah.
decision, every choice,
That's an outcome. Yeah,
everything will become a reflection of this remarkable process that you've created. So if we focus less on I need to make so much money and focus more on how can I deliver the most amount of value or the most exciting value or the most creative or innovative value, like add an adjective to the type of value that excites the shit out of you and get to work on finding ways to package that because in developing an ethical integrity based practice, your financial success will be inevitable. Obviously, you'll have to learn things along the way, but you are likely to succeed because your service model will speak for itself.
yeah. I couldn't think of a better way to end. You end with service, with impact, and I can't wait to have you. Hope you come back again. Maybe we can geek out a little bit more under price these. I can't wait to go back and listen to this and deconstruct it all. So thank you. You've made it really difficult for me to create 5 short video reels out of this, which is what I usually do. So I'm going to be like, okay, hang on. I've got lots of stuff here to share with the world. So thank you, my friend Marcos. Appreciate you. Put links to your world in the show notes. And thanks again, and have enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you. Everybody who's listening, if you want to check out my website, it's coachableconsulting.com. Thanks so much, guys.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you.